What's up, everybody? How y'all doing? So today's video is going to be on, you must clear the cobwebs from your thinking. You know, when I say clear the cobwebs from your thinking, I'm talking about all those thoughts that don't belong in your mind, all those thoughts that are not yours. You know, a lot of the times we may act a certain way towards a certain group of people. We may act a certain type of way in a relationship or just anywhere because we done took on somebody else's thoughts and put that into our identity, right? You know, and that's what I kind of realization, you know, as I've been sitting in the silence a lot more lately. You know, I've really been in the silence. Like, I barely listen to music. I'm barely even looking at YouTube, listening to certain people I watch on YouTube, certain people I listen to. I really don't watch YouTube. I listen to them, you know, just to get information and all that. You know, and I'm realizing I'm starting to take in what they be saying as well. And you know, it's not a bad thing because what they be saying is truth, and to me it's truth, and it's great. But you know, I'm still taking on what they saying and still not thinking the thoughts I want to think, right? And that's why I've really just been closed off from music, just anything. I haven't been watching no television for real. And you know, I just been in the silence. Like these mornings, I get up early, and I just sit in the silence for about 3 to 4 hours. You know, of course I work out and record these videos, but majority of the time I'm just sitting in the silence back here, you know, and just really just thinking about everything. You know, I just been one of those time periods of my life. I'm just analyzing everything I've been taught, just looking at everything. I'm like, damn, you know, and just certain past experiences, you know, looking at them with no emotion or no judgment now. Since I could look at those experiences without putting my emotional energy into it, I could just observe them, right? But, so like, clearing the cobwebs from your thinking, like I said, it gets deep. Every single thing we listen to or who we listen to, we taking that in. You know, our brain is taking the information in subconsciously, you know, and a lot of times we may listen to a song. You notice how you can listen to certain songs and it can change your mood state, right? This song could get you hype. This song could get you into the sad state. This song could get you thinking about heartbreak. This song could get you to just be hype, ready to fight. You know, so, and I started to realize that I'm like, damn, a lot of this thinking don't even be us for real. Well, it wasn't me, at least it wasn't my thinking. You know, I'm over here perceiving this group of people this way. You know, I'm over here, you know, just not liking people, you know, because the type of music I was listening to, you know, even though I didn't think it had an effect on me, but now I look back on it, it's just like, why did I act like that? What was I listening to then? What was I watching then? You know, I was taking in other people's I amness. I was taking in their I amness and putting it to my I amness. And that caused me to have a life of chaos because I wasn't myself. I wasn't in my true I amness. I wasn't aware of anything, you know. And that's another thing. A lot of times you might not even be aware of the way you thinking. You're not aware of that because you think it's normal. You know, you think it's normal to just reacting to everything, you know. At least for me it wasn't. And a lot of negative thinking came from listening to certain songs. Like I said, listen to sad songs. You know, listen, you know what they call that pain music. Listen to pain music and stuff. You start taking in their pain. And you didn't even been through that. But now you feeling their pain. Now you living with that like you done been through that shit. You ain't went through that shit. That's what I had to realize. I'm like, I ain't even go through none of that shit they talking about. And I'm over here feeling that shit. I'm over here walking around sad and shit. What the fuck am I sad for? Now I'm over here thinking negative as shit about myself and shit because I'm listening to what they saying. Because my brain can't tell the difference between me and them. It's thinking, oh shoot, this what you think about it, this what you think about yourself, cool, right? So I'm like, damn, I'm over taking in I am this, or I might be walking around like I'm ready to fight, you know what I'm saying, like on guard and shit, you know what I'm saying, like just because what this song is saying, like I got ops or something like that, you know, so it's just like I'm over, you feel me? I'm just saying that's just the way that's how it affected me, you know. It may be different for a lot more people, and some people may not have an effect on. I thought it didn't have an effect on me, but I thought it didn't have no effect on me, but now I look back on it, shit, I was lightweight walking in there I am this instead of mine. So that's why I had sit in the silence. I had cut all the noise. It got to a point to where like music was annoying me, listening to too much YouTube was annoying me. Shit, I'm at work with this warehouse noise. I'm just listening to that shit. Like, man, that's the only noise I wanted to listen to. Go outside and just be at peace. Just listen to the noise of the birds and nature. Like, it just got to the point with me. You know, just clearing those cobwebs from my thinking. Now my mind is way more clear. My emotional state is just neutral. I'm moving it with love. I'm looking at people differently. You know, I'm treating people differently. You know, I'm over here waving at people at my job and stuff that I ain't never even spoke to. They probably like, what the fuck? You know, I don't know. It's just like I'm looking at everybody differently. You know, and like I said, I used to be like kind of scared of humans because I used to think every human had ill intention. I always stay to yourself, then just stay to yourself, this and that. So I try to stay to myself. I am a person who do roll solo, but you know, now, but also I'm willing to interact with people, you know, in a state of love, you know, not a state of judgment, you know. 'Cause I used to have a sense of ego, to be honest with you, you know, and I used to look at people differently and all that, you know, just because of certain things I was listening to and all that. And then once I stopped listening to all that, I got into that silence. Now my thoughts are my thoughts. So now I can listen to music, and now I get to say it has no effect on me. I ain't got no effect on me now because I said so, because I know who I am now, right? And I didn't know who I was then, right? So clearing those cobwebs for your thinking, just stop listening to the music right now. Shoot, just limit to like 15, 30 minutes a day. Because I was the person, since I work a warehouse job, I would listen to music the entire shift. I would work 12, listen to music the entire shift. Switch back up and forth from YouTube to music. You know, now I listen to myself. I'm listening to all this. So now all this information getting downloaded to my brain. So now I'm taking in that I am this. So now I'm looking at things different. I'm going to certain situations thinking like them. That's not me. And that's what I realized. You know, now I'm navigating thinking as me. That's not me. But I didn't realize it though, because I thought it was normal. That's the thing. You may be operating a certain way because you think it's normal until you get into that silence. I'm telling you, go into that silence. Cut the music out, cut the TV, cut the phones off, sit your ass outside. Yeah, you gonna hear some real shit about yourself. And guess what? At the end of that silence, then the real you is gonna start to come into place. Now you're like, this is how I'm supposed to been thinking this whole entire time. So now you're like, oh, I could do this. Oh, I could do that. Oh, I could choose to think like this. You'll start to get that information from God, God's source, whatever you call it, you know. And now you gonna be operating differently. You're gonna be walking different. You're gonna be talking different. You're gonna be moving with love. You know, you're not gonna be depressed. You're gonna understand people now. You're not gonna look at people because they made this mistake, because they did this crime. You're not gonna look at them no different than a person who may have seen, you know, as just a perfect person, right? You won't look at nobody different. You look at everybody the same. You'll love everybody. You know, you love everybody. And that just what would happen, because it was happening to me. Like, I can't even fathom me hating someone. I can't. Like, it's impossible for me, like, to be just looking at someone like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh man, you know, I can't. Just like, I don't know. But it's just from clearing the cobwebs from my thinking, you know. And I'm very relaxed. I'm not overthinking things, you know. I'm smiling just in the silence. And I'm walking around, I'm smiling at work, you know, just because I'm just so in tune now, you know. But like I said, clear the cobwebs from your thinking. Just sit in that silence more, you know, and let those thoughts roam in that silence. But I'm telling you, at the end of that silence, once that silence is really silent, that's when the real you, the real information is gonna be coming to you you know, and you're gonna be thinking a different way. You know, that's only if you sit in that silence. You know, and that's the way to clear the cobwebs from your thinking completely. It's a tough spot for people though, because you're gonna have to face some shit about yourself. You're gonna have to face everything. You know, it's just what it is. If you can't face yourself, you ain't gonna never be able to navigate this world. You ain't gonna never be able to keep a focused mindset. Your mind gotta be clear. Your mind gotta be clean. It has to be clean. Your mind gotta be clean out here. You feel me? You can't be out here, can't be double-minded. You know, mind gotta be clean. Everything counts, and that's why I came to realization. Everything counts. Yeah, they say yes, life is fun. Life is meant to be enjoyed. Enjoy the experience, but everything counts, because how you gonna enjoy life if you're not making everything count? You're not making sure you're enjoying life. You know, you're not making sure you're treating everyone with love. I don't care, you know. It's just certain things, you know. And like, even if I do, okay, say, and a certain interaction, I may have to, you know, resolve a conflict with force. I'm gonna do it out of love. It's not gonna be out of hatred. You know, I'm gonna do it out of love. You feel me? I'm gonna do it out of love. Like, yeah, you know, I'm gonna do it out of love. I'm just saying. So, yeah, clear the cobwebs from your thinking. You know, stop the negative thinking. You know, stop the music. Cut it out. And when you sit in that silence, bring in those new thoughts that you would like to think about yourself. You know, that's where you start to transform your identity at, once you sit in that silence. So then once all that noise is completely shut out, let your thoughts go wrong, all that negativity, all those thoughts, all those experiences. And once that shit's completely out your brain in that silence, and you can just look at it like with no attachment, no emotional attachment, you just neutral, that's when you bring in those new thoughts. That's when you bring in those positive thoughts about yourself, those powerful statements. And that day forward, you must move in that. You know, that's what I talk about, no retreat. You know, and it's a constant battle every day. And that's why I sit in this silence every single day now. Because I know, one slip up, I could go back to my old way of thinking. I can't let my mind trick me. You're gonna try to betray me. Guess what? I must stick to who I am now. You know, that's today's message though. Peace.